Hello, everyone. I'm Farzan Ahmed with the Ohio Turnpike and Infrastructure Commission. I'm also honored to serve as the chair of the NTTA Global Road Safety Committee. This committee came together last year when we started our Global Road Safety Initiative under, at that time, the presidency of Bill Halkias. This was an important topic. It was about safety. This is something that we are all in it together. And we thought that it was good for us to have a voice about why this is important and what we are doing about it. We got a lot of support from throughout the country and throughout the world. And that's what led to our first Global Road Safety Week last year. And then we decided that this is important enough for us to do every year. You will recall that last year's theme was Be Safe Together, because for us to be safe, we all have to work together. This year's theme is Be the Highway Hero. What that means is we want to talk about individual responsibility and accountability. And a highway hero is anyone who makes intentional and deliberate decisions to be safe when they get on the highway. That act of being deliberate and intentional about safety, about your own safety, about the safety of those who are around you and safety of everyone else who's sharing the road with you, makes you a highway hero. And in light of our Global Road Safety Week, we've had several conversations. And today my guest is Eric Hemphill from the North Texas Tollway Authority. Eric serves as the Director of Traffic and Incident Management at NTTA. Eric, welcome to this conversation.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, Eric, we know of your work, but I want to ask you, what drew you to this work? What made you get into traffic incident management? And how has your perspective changed in the time that you have had this position?
Well, I know it sounds cliche, but I got into this because I enjoy helping others, especially when they don't know it. That's in traffic safety. When you do a project that reduces crashes or prevents a wrong-way driver, you're helping people, but they have no idea, because they didn't get into that crash or didn't have to deal with that wrong-way driver. So you're making a difference in people's lives behind the scenes, which is always a fun thing to do. Although you never get to meet the people you help, you get the satisfaction knowing you kept someone from having a very bad day. And I think over time, I have actually developed more sympathy. And I know it sounds strange in roadway safety to say sympathy, but when you first start out, you just look at numbers, or you over time just try to look at numbers and statistics. You often forget about those numbers are people's lives and their family lives and how each one of those numbers impacted somebody. It's not on purpose. It's just a coping mechanism, you think, as it develops and you harden. But as you age, you start to realize that passion, you get that passion back. You realize that each one of those statistics is not just a statistic. It's somebody that maybe has to learn to walk again. Or maybe it's, knowing that you've gotten a call that somebody is about to get one of the worst nights of their life and they're about to get woken up by troopers. So developing that sympathy and saying, I feel your pain and I'm not going to let this happen again and I'm going to do everything in my power to stop it. I think that's what's developed over time and how I've regained some passion to roadway safety. So, in particular, wrong-way driving, those crashes have the greatest chance to become a fatal crash. So doing what we can to help detect, deter, respond, and stop them is a priority. We've been focused on wrong-way drivers since 2009 task force. And back then we had people telling us, hey, it's just drunk drivers. All the statistics say it's just drunk drivers. You're never going to stop drinking and driving, but the good news is I can be a little stubborn sometimes. And since we've made tremendous strides in our wrong-way driver program. And just knowing we are helping people without them knowing it is a great feeling to come to work every day and do.
I can hear it in your voice, Eric. The things you said, helping others, making a difference, sympathy. And I'm not surprised at all to hear those words. And, you even gave the example of a drunk driver. Sure, somebody gets drunk and decides to get behind the wheel. It's bad behavior on their part, but they got a family too, right? And if something happens to them, the family suffers. What if they are okay and they end up hitting somebody else? Now an innocent person is suffering. So yeah, your perspective is 100% accurate. We cannot pass blame. We have a job as managers of infrastructure to do everything we can And I appreciate what you had to say. It rang true.
Yeah, and
Um,
I bet in your example, that person that we get stopped over and give them, they might get arrested for driving while intoxicated and they think their life is over. But trust me, their life could have been over. And that's a whole lot bigger deal for the people left behind. So you're absolutely right. It's about passion and getting and yes, you're not making the best choices, but we should still help you try to deter you from making even worse choices.
Absolutely. We highway patrol on the Ohio Turnpike caught a drunk driver with three times the legal limit driving a semi, 80,000 pound semi. When he got out of the vehicle, he couldn't walk. And they were nice to him, they were kind to him, but they put him in handcuffs. How many lives did that act save? We have to think about that too. Eric, you talked about wrong way driving. You said you guys had a task force to talk about wrong way driving. What current practices and technologies does NTTA use to help prevent wrong way driving?
Well, I'll break that question into two parts. First, I'll talk about our technologies, and we have just about everything you can think of out there on our roads right now. One of the first things we did back in the 2009 task force was realize we have tolling loops at all of our tolling locations. We wrote a software in-house. Our roadway IT team wrote a software in-house that basically when those loops were detected activating the wrong direction, we would get a notification sent to our dispatch center, our 24/7 dispatch. And just to answer the question, by the way, that we get all the time when we mention that, when you are detected going the wrong way, you do not get a refund. We still charge the appropriate amount. We just send state troopers to collect the funds instead of a zip cash bill. But so we started with that and just started seeing the simple things, the lowering the signs to 2 foot to get in the headlight height of cars, adjusting signing on striping and wrong way driver arrows, the non-technology stuff. But since then, we've grown. We have thermal cameras all over our system that are now detecting wrong way drivers. And as a side benefit, they help us with pedestrians and stalled vehicles as well. But initially, they primarily were for the wrong way driver task force. From there, we've grown to activating those signs. When the thermal detection camera gets a sign, or a loop detection get a sign or activated, those signs will activate automatically, start flashing, get your attention, turn you around. Great success in those locations. We've been able to detect where they're coming from to be able to isolate areas, paying attention and using our camera system to figure out what made them do that. Did they U-turn? Did they come on the ramp the wrong way? Were they driving the frontage roads the wrong way already? Or did they turn out of a parking lot and just make a left right onto the ramp? So being able to use that technology to find out where they're happening at, where they come from, allows us to then use the right technology approach. We're not killing a fly with a cannonball. We move and slowly initiate additional things. So it's not just spending money to spend money. We have the reason and the purpose and the initiative behind why we did what we did at each location. But the practices we've developed over the years is what we're really proud of as well. I mentioned our Safety Operations Center earlier. It is a 24/7 traffic management facility, but we're also a secondary 911 center, meaning we get the calls after the initial cities get the calls, they're forwarded to us. We also are state licensed on the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. So we dispatch state troopers directly from this facility. So we've got it all. We've got all that detection systems coming in there, popping up on the screens, and we've got the 911 calls coming in. We've also got the law enforcement we can coordinate with. As a result of the wrong way driving efforts too, we've been able to coordinate with the cities, get in their radio channels so we can be directly speaking to officers in the field, helping us respond to those. So not only our state troopers, when a detection goes off, it is an all hands on deck in there. We have specific assignments. One person's assigned to dispatch the state troopers. One person's assigned to start dispatching the local police in the area. Another one notifies our safety service patrol. We also have somebody looking on our maps to see for scheduled lane closures so they can call that company and say, hey, there's a wrong way driver coming at you. You might want to protect yourselves. We have one that just follows that wrong way driver until they, unfortunately crash, or if they correct themselves or exit the system and notifying the city which way they went. So all of that going like a well-oiled machine allows us to deter, stop, detect, and prevent those wrong way drivers. In addition, we've developed a system that when we do verify a wrong way driver, instantly the dynamic message signs in that area pop up and say wrong way driver reported, use caution to try to notify those right way drivers. So it's the system of technologies implemented with the practices to do the best we can against wrong way drivers.
As you talk about the cause, try to find out why it happened, where they got it from. Sometimes people think that a wrong way driver is impaired or they're not paying attention. That's not always the case, right? Sometimes it's just a mistake somebody made.
In our case, that is very rare. We have some folks that don't travel the roads very frequently, but in our case, the overwhelming majority of them, over 95% of them, are drunk or intoxicated. Then we have the
Yes.
elderly who are confused, and after that, there are very rare occasions, and there's just a few where we pulled somebody over who just was truly confused and got turned around, and as soon as they got on, they stopped. But because they were not intoxicated, they understood where they were in a bad spot and just stopped and stayed there until we got somebody to help. But yes, and because we're able to detect and know where they come from, we've also realized that over 30% of our wrong way drivers are going the correct direction and simply make a U-turn to go the wrong direction. So as a lot of people are still focused on the ramps and the exit ramps and things like that, over the last 5 years, our data has shown between 25 and 30% of them are going the correct direction and U-turn. And it's not simply just to go back to catch the ramp. Once they U-turn, they commit to it. They're going back the wrong direction a long time. I encourage people that if you are doing these detection systems and you are trying to figure out, and you have that gap, you just cannot figure out where people are coming from, start to look for the U-turners.
Well, yeah. But what emerging technologies or design innovations do you believe hold the most promise in preventing wrong way driving?
So as I mentioned earlier, the majority of our wrong way drivers, alcohol, drugs, or both are involved. In other words, as you mentioned, that person made a mistake. They should have never gotten behind the wheel and done that. So if we can get humans out of the equation, we can make the road safer. So I think connected and autonomous vehicles will help with that, either in determining that person is intoxicated when they sit in the vehicle and not starting up for them, uh, or if they do happen to get it going and go the wrong direction, the vehicle's not letting it turn or pulling over safely to the side and getting to a shoulder and notifying somebody that it's in the wrong spot. But also warning other cars in the area, right? So, as connected and autonomous vehicles let up, it's, hey, I'm going the wrong direction. Anybody in this area better pay attention. But what we're trying to do is say, okay, look, we have a person that might be in a 1967 Ford Mustang. Their only technology is an AM radio. It's not even AM FM at the time, right? Uh, so it's taking that technology and getting it into cell phones as well. So not only broadcasting to other cars, but broadcasting to cell phones. Because I guarantee you that guy driving the Mustang has that smartphone sitting in his cup. So getting that message out to as many people as we can, and using the technology to do that.
Glad you gave that example because whereas we are looking forward to a future, a foreseeable future when we'll have connected, perhaps autonomous, but at least connected vehicles, fact is we'll still have a lot of vehicles that are not, because vehicles stay on the road for a very long time. And then you do have the enthusiasts that like the old car. If you give me a choice, I'd rather take that 67 Mustang than any brand new car that's available today. But you talked about taking the human element out of it. I was having a conversation with Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and one of the things they talked about was the HALT Act, which is something that they're proposing through Congress, where there would be a built-in mechanism in your vehicle that in order for you to start your vehicle, you'd have to prove that you're not intoxicated or impaired. That is kind of sort of taking, not human, but that's taking human behavior out of the equation. And technologies like that, once available, will be the extra step in keeping all of us safe. Eric, what do you feel have been the most important innovations in road safety that we already see out there in recent years?
Well, it's gonna sound strange, but again, to remove people from hazardous situations, these rideshare companies, it's so much easier now to get somebody to get you home. Let's say you did go and didn't plan very well and had a few too many drinks. You You don't, you know, when I bartended back in college, trying to get a cab to come around 1 o'clock in the morning when all the drunks were there was almost impossible. So you had to wait a long time. People got impatient. My car's right there. It's been 20 minutes. I'm sure I'm sobered up enough. Let me just get ahead and get on the road. But nowadays, with the ride sharing companies and all that, it's not really thought of as roadway safety. But if you plan your trip and you're going to go out and have some drinks, just for a few dollars, you know, it's way less than a ticket for DWI, way less than your insurance deductible if you crash your own car, to pick up a ride and go. So roadway safety, it's not just for wrong way drivers. You know, we have so many construction crews that are struck at night for just by right way drivers who are intoxicated. But you know, all the other technology from an alert on your phone telling you the route you're on has a crash and a backup. You know, sounds like, oh, I'm going to get there faster. That's great. But what it's also doing is taking you out of that opportunity to be in a secondary crash. We all know in the roadway industry that the secondary crashes are sometimes the most severe and fatal because you're standing still and that car behind you is coming at highway speed and runs into the back of you. So people are thinking, oh, I'm going to get there faster and take an alternate route. Well, we've removed you from becoming a secondary statistic. Or, you know, we now have the technology in our trucks that will warn people that we're out there. So when our lights and arrow boards go up, they get an alert on their phone or in their car that says there's a person up ahead. You know, take care. There's an alert up ahead. So you know, and then in recent years, you know, the 1967 Mustang with its AM radio. If you would have told that guy driving that back in '68 when it was brand new that, hey, ultimately cars are going to come rolling off the lot that'll stop for you as you're trying to get you're about to get into an incident, they'll stop for you. Or if you try to change lanes, it'll pull you back into your lane because there's another vehicle there. And when those started rolling out, those were on the very high-end cars. Now they're just becoming a standard safety feature. So as the time goes and these become just regular standard things where like seatbelts, you know, before the seatbelts were required, some cars didn't have them. And even that 67 Mustang probably only had a lap belt. And as you started to look at those nowadays, you know, that shoulder strap and all that is just commonplace. You know, so the safety innovations are the great ones that are becoming more affordable and becoming put on everyday vehicles.
You give us some really good examples of the innovations that we see in vehicles right now, but you also talked about the ride share as an innovation, and that's a very cool way of looking at it, Eric. There's nothing innovative about a taxi, but the way that taxi is being used through your phone, there's really no excuse for someone to get behind that wheel. You're so right about that, and that is certainly, from a service perspective, an innovation that is available to all of us. Now, your agency, NTTA, you are very active. You're an active partner with IBTTA, and you regularly share best practices in traffic and incident management with national and international agencies. And you know, we are all in this together. We are in different parts of the country and different parts of the world, but we have common missions. Can you share the benefits from us having these types of exchanges?
Oh, the benefits are endless. It doesn't matter what side you're on. If you come in thinking you're the expert on a subject, trying to teach a group of people, and you still learn something. You know, in every case, anytime I've been to an IBTT event or talked with another IBTT person, I have learned something. You know, you think you're doing it the right way, but as you mentioned, it's not just from around this country; it's from around the world. So you get some innovations that, you know, maybe you weren't thinking of, but they're doing over in Europe, and they've been doing it for years. So going out there and sharing those practices not only helps you learn literally from around the world, it grows you as a person, as a human being, but you are taking those experiences from those people, right? You know, where you grew up, how you grew up, and what you've done along your career is different than me. We get together and talk. You use something from your background. I use something from my background. The next thing we know, we have sliced bread and we have the best innovation coming because we each grew up doing it a different way and coming together. And IBTTA is great with that. I don't consider some of these people just members of IBTTA with me. We're very close and almost considered family in some cases, and we look out for each other. As you mentioned, we're all in this together. Nobody wants to go through what we go through when we do catch the news media because of a crash that happened at Severe. We all know what that's like, and so we all want to help each other be away from that. And so anything we can do to share ideas, IBTTA has always provided the platform, the knowledge and the ability, but more importantly, the people involved in it are so caring and so willing to share. It's great.
I would agree with you. That has been my experience as well. Just the caring aspect of the people who are involved in our organization. You know, our Ohio Turnpike touches Pennsylvania and Indiana, and when we do projects on the border, we always think about the other. They think about us, and we think about them. That how is our maintenance of traffic going to affect them? Do they have any projects we should coordinate to make sure that both of us are very well taken care of? And that comes from that caring attitude and that common mission. Uh, I can, from our conversation, your passion for what you do is obvious. We all have jobs, and this is your job. But I have a feeling that you bring a lot more than your experience and your expertise to this job. It's very obvious from the way you talk, and I truly appreciate that about you. I can also tell you that I have learned from you today, listening to you, hearing from you and your experience, and I appreciate that. And I think that members of IBTTA will benefit from what you have shared with us today. Thank you so much for taking your time to talk to me. You said something about being behind the scenes in the very beginning. Well, behind the scenes, my friend, you are one of the highway heroes that we are talking about. I truly appreciate your time and the conversation. Thank you.
Well, thank you again for giving me the platform, and it's been a pleasure. And as always, I learned something from you today as well. So thank you very much.